This text delves into the harrowing events surrounding a tragic crime involving Victor Alexander Pujol and his girlfriend's family. The narrative unfolds a chilling tale that encapsulates the complexity of human emotions, the fragility of relationships, and the devastating consequences of unchecked actions. At its core, this story explores the intricacies of interpersonal dynamics, unraveling the threads of love, betrayal, and desperation. Through the lens of this particular case, we are confronted with the stark realities of life's unpredictability and the depths to which individuals can be driven under extreme circumstances. As we embark on this journey through the events that transpired, we are invited to reflect on the myriad factors at play, from societal pressures to personal demons, that culminated in a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. Through careful examination, we aim to shed light on the underlying motivations, behavioral patterns, and psychological underpinnings that contributed to the fateful outcome. In the following sections, we will delve into the details of the crime, unpacking its aftermath, and exploring the ripple effects it sent through the lives of those involved. Through analysis and reflection, we endeavor to glean insights into the human condition and the complex interplay of forces that shape our destinies. The tragic saga surrounding Victor Alexander Pujol and his girlfriend's family is marked by a series of events that unfolded with devastating consequences. At the center of this narrative lies a crime that shook the community to its core and left a profound impact on all those involved. It all began with what appeared to be a typical romantic relationship between Victor and his girlfriend, characterized by affection and companionship. However, beneath the surface lurked tensions and conflicts that would eventually erupt into violence. The catalyst for the tragic turn of events remains shrouded in ambiguity, but it is clear that simmering resentments and unresolved issues played a significant role. In a moment of profound distress, or perhaps calculated malice, Victor committed a heinous act, the details of which sent shockwaves through the community. The aftermath of the crime was marked by anguish, grief, and a profound sense of loss. The family of Victor's girlfriend grappled with the unimaginable pain of losing their loved ones in such a senseless manner. Meanwhile, Victor himself faced the full weight of the legal system as he was held accountable for his actions. Legal proceedings ensued, each step of the judicial process serving as a painful reminder of the irreparable damage inflicted. As evidence was presented, testimonies heard, and verdicts rendered, the true scope of the tragedy became increasingly apparent. Ultimately, justice was served, but it offered little solace to those whose lives were forever altered by the events that transpired. The scars left by this tragedy run deep, serving as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the profound consequences of human actions. As we reflect on the summary of these events, we are confronted with the sobering reality of the human condition, a tapestry woven with moments of joy and sorrow, love and loss, hope and despair. Through the lens of this tragic tale, we are reminded of the importance of empathy, understanding, and resilience in the face of adversity. At the heart of the tragic narrative surrounding Victor Alexander Pujol and Reina Isabel Encarnacion are complex individuals whose lives intersect in ways both profound and tragic. Understanding the backgrounds, relationships, and roles of these main characters sheds light on the dynamics that culminated in the devastating events that unfolded. Victor Alexander Pujol. A central figure in the story, Victor is portrayed as a multifaceted character whose actions are both perplexing and deeply disturbing. Born into modest circumstances, Victor's upbringing is marked by adversity and hardship. Despite these challenges, he exhibits intelligence and charm, qualities that initially draw Reina Isabel Encarnacion into his orbit. However, beneath his veneer of charm lies a troubled soul plagued by unresolved trauma and simmering anger. As the story unfolds, Victor's character is revealed to be deeply fluid, his actions driven by a toxic mix of jealousy, insecurity, and desperation. Ultimately, Victor's descent into violence serves as a tragic reminder of the destructive power of unchecked emotions, Reina Isabel Encarnacion. As Victor's girlfriend and a key figure in the story, Reina emerges as a character, grappling with conflicting loyalties and emotions. Coming from a privileged background, Raina is initially drawn to Victor's charisma and magnetic personality. However, as tensions escalate and Victor's true nature is laid bare, Raina finds herself torn between her love for Victor and her loyalty to her family. Despite her best efforts to mediate and reconcile, Raina's character is ultimately overshadowed by the tragedy that unfolds, leaving her grappling with profound grief and guilt. Other relevant individuals. Beyond Victor and Raina, the story encompasses a cast of characters whose roles are integral to the narrative. This includes Raina's family members, who serve as both victims and witnesses to the unfolding tragedy. Their backgrounds and relationships provide crucial context for understanding the dynamics at play. Additionally, law enforcement officials, legal professionals, and members of the community play significant roles in the aftermath of the crime, shaping the trajectory of the story and its ultimate resolution. In analyzing the main characters involved in the story, we are confronted with the complexities of human nature and the interplay of individual motivations, relationships, and external factors. Through their stories, we gain insight into the profound impact of tragedy and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. The examination of Victor Alexander Pujol's behavior delves into the intricate interplay of psychological factors that contributed to the tragic events that unfolded. Understanding his motivations requires a deep dive into his upbringing, personality traits, mental health, and relationship dynamics. Upbringing. Victor's early life experiences play a pivotal role in shaping his psychological makeup. Raised in a challenging environment marked by adversity and instability, Victor may have developed coping mechanisms that predisposed him to maladaptive behavior. Limited access to resources and support systems may have fostered feelings of resentment and inadequacy, fueling his sense of entitlement and desire for control. Personality traits. Victor's personality is characterized by a complex blend of traits, including charisma, charm, and intelligence, juxtaposed with underlying insecurity and volatility. His ability to charm others may mask deeper insecurities and a fragile sense of self-worth. These conflicting traits create a volatile internal landscape, where feelings of inadequacy and jealousy simmer beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. Mental health. It is plausible that Victor's actions were influenced by underlying mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, or personality disorders. These conditions, if present, could exacerbate his emotional instability and impair his ability to regulate his impulses and emotions. Untreated mental health issues may have contributed to distorted thinking patterns and impaired judgment, further fueling his descent into violence. Relationship dynamics. The dynamics of Victor's relationship with Raina Isabel Incarnation are central to understanding his motivations. As a key figure in his life, Raina's affection and approval may have served as a source of validation for Victor. However, as tensions mounted and conflicts arose, Victor's fear of abandonment and rejection may have intensified, driving him to desperate measures to assert control and maintain his perceived sense of power. Motives. Victor's motives for his actions are likely multifaceted and deeply rooted in a combination of psychological, emotional, and situational factors. These may include feelings of jealousy, betrayal, and inadequacy, as well as a desire for control and dominance. His actions may have been fueled by a desperate attempt to regain a sense of power and agency in the face of perceived threats to his relationship and self-esteem. In sum, the psychological analysis of Victor's behavior reveals a complex web of influences that shaped his actions and motivations. By exploring the intersection of upbringing, personality traits, mental health, and relationship dynamics, we gain insight into the underlying drivers of his tragic descent into violence. To truly grasp the significance of the events involving Victor Alexander Pujol and Raina Isabel Incarnation, it's essential to contextualize them within the broader social and cultural landscape of the Dominican Republic. Understanding societal attitudes towards crime, justice, and mental health sheds light on the complexities surrounding the tragedy. In the Dominican Republic, like many countries, societal attitudes towards crime and justice are influenced by a myriad of factors, including historical, cultural, and socio-economic dynamics. While the country has made strides in strengthening its legal system and combating crime, challenges persist in addressing issues of corruption, inequality, and impunity. In some cases, there may be a prevailing sense of skepticism or mistrust towards law enforcement and the judicial system, particularly among marginalized communities. Furthermore, cultural norms and values shape perceptions of masculinity, power, and interpersonal relationships. Machismo, or the traditional concept of male dominance and authority, may contribute to a culture of violence and aggression, perpetuating harmful stereotypes and behaviors. This cultural context can exert significant pressure on individuals to conform to rigid gender roles and expectations, influencing their attitudes and actions. Mental health remains a deeply stigmatized and often neglected issue in many parts of the Dominican Republic. Despite efforts to raise awareness and improve access to mental health services, there remains a pervasive reluctance to acknowledge or seek help for psychological distress. This stigma may stem from cultural beliefs that equate mental illness with weakness or moral failing, leading to shame and isolation for those affected. Against this backdrop, individuals like Victor may struggle to cope with underlying mental health issues or psychological distress, navigating a social landscape that offers limited support and understanding. Without access to appropriate resources and interventions, individuals may find themselves trapped in a cycle of suffering, with few avenues for relief or assistance. In light of these social and cultural realities, the events involving Victor and Raina take on added significance. They serve as a poignant reminder of the intersecting forces of power, privilege, and vulnerability that shape individual lives and societal outcomes. By contextualizing these events within the broader socio-cultural context of the Dominican Republic, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities surrounding crime, justice, and mental health in the country. The legal aspects of the case involving Victor Alexander Pujol offer insight into the complexities of the Dominican Republic's legal system, highlighting both strengths and shortcomings in the administration of justice. Evaluating the trial proceedings, the sentencing of Victor, and the implications of the outdated criminal code provides a comprehensive understanding of the legal landscape surrounding the tragic events. Trial proceedings. The trial proceedings likely followed established legal protocols, including the presentation of evidence, examination of witnesses, and arguments from both the prosecution and defense. However, the effectiveness of the trial may have been influenced by various factors, such as the quality of legal representation, the impartiality of the judiciary, and the integrity of the investigative process. Challenges such as corruption, inefficiency, and resource constraints may have compromised the fairness and transparency of the proceedings, potentially impacting the outcome of the trial. Sentencing of Victor Alexander Pujol. The sentencing of Victor would have been guided by Dominican Republic's criminal code, which establishes the framework for determining appropriate penalties for criminal offenses. Depending on the specific charges brought against him, Victor may have faced a range of potential penalties, including imprisonment, fines, or other forms of punishment. The sentencing decision would have taken into account factors such as the severity of the crime, the defendant's culpability, and any mitigating or aggravating circumstances. However, disparities in sentencing practices and inconsistencies in the application of the law may have contributed to perceptions of inequity and injustice. Implications of the outdated criminal code. The Dominican Republic's criminal code, although revised periodically, may be outdated and inadequate in addressing contemporary legal challenges and societal norms. Provisions related to issues such as gender-based violence, mental health, and domestic abuse may be insufficiently robust or outdated, hindering efforts to effectively prosecute offenders and protect victims. Additionally, legal reforms aimed at enhancing access to justice, strengthening procedural safeguards, and promoting human rights may be slow to materialize, further exacerbating systemic deficiencies within the legal system. In conclusion, the legal and judicial analysis of the case involving Victor Alexander Pujol underscores the need for comprehensive reforms to address systemic deficiencies and ensure the fair and effective administration of justice in the Dominican Republic. By critically evaluating trial proceedings, sentencing practices, and the implications of outdated legal frameworks, stakeholders can identify areas for improvement and advocate for meaningful change within the legal system. Only through sustained efforts to strengthen the rule of law, promote accountability, and uphold fundamental rights can the Dominican Republic move towards a more just and equitable society. The profound impact of the crime involving Victor Alexander Pujol reverberates far beyond the immediate victims, leaving an indelible mark on the victims' families, the community, and the country as a whole. Reflecting on the aftermath of the tragedy offers insights into the enduring consequences and lessons learned from this heartbreaking ordeal. Victims' families. For the families of the victims, the emotional toll of the crime is immeasurable. They are left grappling with the devastating loss of their loved ones, contending with grief, anger, and profound feelings of injustice. Their lives are forever altered by the void left in the wake of the tragedy, as they struggle to come to terms with the senseless act of violence that shattered their world. Despite the passage of time, the pain remains palpable, serving as a constant reminder of the preciousness of life and the fragility of human existence. The broader community is also deeply affected by the repercussions of the crime. Shockwaves of fear, distrust, and collective trauma reverberate through neighborhoods and social networks, eroding feelings of safety and security. The sense of solidarity and trust that once characterized the community may be replaced by apprehension and suspicion, as residents grapple with the unsettling realization that violence can strike close to home. Despite efforts to heal and rebuild, the scars left by the tragedy linger, serving as a sobering reminder of the vulnerability inherent in the human experience. Country. At the national level, the crime prompts soul-searching and calls for action to address underlying societal issues and systemic deficiencies. It shines a spotlight on gaps in the legal system, shortcomings in mental health services, and persistent social inequalities that contribute to cycles of violence and despair. The tragedy serves as a catalyst for meaningful change, sparking conversations about the need for comprehensive reforms to promote justice, protect vulnerable populations, and prevent future tragedies from occurring. From legislative initiatives to grassroots advocacy efforts, the country mobilizes to honor the memory of the victims and build a more just and compassionate society. Lessons learned and changes prompted. In the aftermath of the tragedy, there are valuable lessons to be gleaned and changes to be implemented. The crime serves as a stark reminder of the importance of community cohesion, empathy, and support in times of crisis. It underscores the need for enhanced mental health services, victim support programs, and violence prevention strategies to address the root causes of crime and promote healing and resilience. Moreover, it galvanizes efforts to strengthen the rule of law, combat corruption, and uphold human rights, laying the groundwork for a more equitable and inclusive society. In conclusion, the impact of the crime involving Victor Alexander Pujol transcends individual lives, leaving an enduring imprint on victims' families, the community, and the nation at large. Through reflection and collective action, stakeholders can honor the memory of the victims, confront systemic injustices, and forge a path towards a brighter and more hopeful future. The narrative surrounding the tragic events involving Victor Alexander Pujol and Reina Isabel Encarnacion has provided a sobering glimpse into the complexities of human nature, the fragility of relationships, and the profound impact of violence on individuals and communities. As we conclude our analysis, it is essential to summarize the key points discussed and reflect on the broader themes, implications, and significance of the text. Throughout our exploration, we have delved into various facets of the story, from the summary of events to character analysis, psychological motivations, social and cultural context, legal proceedings, and the enduring impact of the crime. Each component offers valuable insights into the underlying dynamics at play and sheds light on the multifaceted nature of tragedy. The characters of Victor Alexander Pujol and Reina Isabel Encarnacion serve as focal points for examining the complexities of human behavior and the interplay of individual motivations, relationships, and societal influences. Through their stories, we are confronted with the consequences of unchecked emotions, distorted perceptions, and unresolved trauma, underscoring the importance of empathy, understanding, and support in navigating life's challenges. Furthermore, our analysis of the social and cultural context highlights the broader structural factors that contribute to patterns of violence and injustice. From entrenched gender norms to systemic inequalities, these factors shape the landscape in which the tragedy unfolds, prompting reflection on the need for comprehensive reforms to promote social justice and human rights. The legal and judicial analysis offers insights into the strengths and weaknesses of the Dominican Republic's legal system, pointing to the importance of accountability, transparency, and access to justice in fostering a fair and equitable society. By critically evaluating trial proceedings, sentencing practices, and legal frameworks, we identify areas for improvement and advocate for meaningful change within the legal system. Finally, our reflections on the impact of the crime underscore the profound ripple effects it sends through victims' families, the community, and the country as a whole. From collective trauma to calls for action, the tragedy prompts soul-searching and mobilizes efforts to address underlying societal issues and systemic deficiencies. In conclusion, the narrative of Victor Alexander Pujol and Reina Isabel Encarnacion serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities and contradictions of the human experience.